back to another exciting episode of Combat Weekly. We have a big show tonight. I just want to shout out to everyone who supported us last week. Again, we made the change to the longer format show, and we got a great response from it. So just right off the bat, we just want to thank you for that. Today we have Christina Fierro on. We have Dada 5000. They just did their first BYB show. We have Sean Wheelock, the voice of the BKFC. Among the many other things he does, he's going to recap UFC 236 with us. It's going to be exciting. Tune in and stay for that. And really, we just want to, again, remind everybody, please keep smashing that like button and the subscribe button. It helps us out so much. Hit that share button. Again, I always say I feel like a broken record, but we appreciate it so much. And stay tuned. We got Dada 5000 coming up next. We're back on the program. We're here with Dada 5000. Dada, what's up, man?
Hey, guys, I'm blessed. It's an awesome opportunity to be here with you and your great listeners and everything, man. I'm just stoked. I'm just ready to get into it.
Hey, man, we appreciate your time. Dada, I guess, before you go into the BYB thing, man, because we're going to talk about that. It was an awesome show. It was an awesome card. And before we kind of get into that, if you don't mind, man, because a lot of our listeners know you from your, the YouTube days and, all the stuff with Kimbo and all that stuff like that. That's where a lot of people kind of know you from. If you don't mind, maybe kind of speak on all that stuff, like the fight with Kimbo, and more importantly, there was a lot of stuff that stemmed out of that, the heart attacks and stuff like that. I know you've talked about it at length before, but maybe kind of rehash that for viewers who maybe didn't hear it or might not even really know about it. Just kind of rehash that for people.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say, the fight with Kimbo was something that, I think the world, wanted to see. The world was focused and interested in. And for me, it was the first time being on such a grand, forum, man. And to make a long story short, it's like we can only be affected by those that have access to us, right? And I had some individuals around me that, they were there for all the wrong reasons. And when you're making that type of money and when you're dealing on that type of level, what happens is this. You put yourself inside of a position, because you're learning it as you go, and, man, my potassium, make a long story short, my potassium was elevated. I passed all my tests, right? All the blood work, everything came back. He's good to go. And I've never had no health issues. I've never had no medical problems, none of that. And you mean to tell me the night of the biggest fight of my life, I have the worst medical outing in history? That's crazy. And what transpired was I ended up, going into, dehydration. I was having a heart attack before. Medically, it put me at having a heart attack before, I even got inside of the ring. My kidneys went out inside the first round, and I kept going. Then I went into severe dehydration, which led to, renal kidney failure, and then I ended up, going into cardiac arrest. And when I went into cardiac arrest, he didn't punch me when I was going down, and that's why a lot of people, they was having speculation, like, wow, what happened? Is it this? Is it that? Because I didn't receive no damage, no punching. And when they done the blood toxicology on me, they seen that my potassium was elevated. And it was elevated to the point that your body cannot produce the level that mine was. I was not supposed to walk 10 feet, but I lasted, 3 rounds. And, the sad part about it is this. Kimbo, I think that, I know that as he started to develop, he got brainwashed. They took control, and they started telling him what he needs to do. And that's what he did. Those are the individuals that paid him. And he was on steroids during that fight. Sad to say, him and Ken Shamrock failed Bellator 149, steroids. And if it would have been me, if Dada 5000 would have got caught taking steroids, they would have thrown me under the bus. Dada, you're a scum. You're a cheater. You're this. You're that. Clearly, they brushed that under the rug with him. And the sad part about it is they slapped me in the face because they gave him a fight with James the Colossus Thompson again inside, London, but he passed before they could have do that. So they had no regards, for me, him failing the steroid test and everything else, that clearly was their fault because it happened underneath their watch, underneath their umbrella, So I didn't go legal. I didn't do none of that, I'm 100% real with it. My lack of knowledge and not having a sturdy team around me put me inside that position. And I'm just glad that I was able to make a full recovery.
Yeah.
Listen, if you get on dialysis, you're not getting off, unless you have a transplant or you die. My EKG is back to 100%, and I was off of dialysis, and the people was like, wow, how did he get off? How was he in such a bad boat? And he bounced back like it never even happened because I was never sick to begin with. This shit was done to me.
Right.
And the sad part about it, it's done by the hands of my own people. So I had to make better selection of the people that I have around me.
Well, I would like to say this with all that, and that's horrible, but what does it say for your character that obviously whatever happened, you were feeling horrible during the fight, but you finished? You know what I mean? What kind of that's drive, that's heart, that's some stuff you can't teach. You know what I mean? It's just crazy,
You know what's so interesting about that is this. I know in the second round that I was in trouble, right? And I said, and this is all my life, I said, either this guy's going to knock me out or I'm going to die in this ring. And if you look at it, Kimbo sliced through, and you could count this, copy box punch stack numbers. He threw, 70, 78 blows. I took 57 shots of his 78 that was thrown. And I was still standing. Now, this was supposed to be a guy. And, and I'll tell you this really quick. So I get to I get to Houston, and I went inside, to do this interview. And, they said, right now we're live with Dawg Fight on QXFM, blah, blah, blah. Dawg 5000. We're going to get straight to it. The people want to know, how did you get here? I thought to myself, wow, so he wants to be sarcastic straight out of the gate. And I said, well, I caught a plane here. First I called Uber to the airport, then I caught a plane here. Then, the people from Bellator, brought me, took me via, bus here. He was like, no, we want to know, how did you get here? The people say it's Kimbo Slice's hands is better than yours. I said, well, I'm not going to argue that. The people say Kimbo Slice has more experience than you. I say, wow, I see now where they pay you the big bucks. The people say Kimbo Slice has a better team, a better, cap season. I said, wow, now I see you're truly on the roll. I said to myself at that point, this is going to be the shortest interview in history because I'm not going to contest nothing. And I said, listen, let me stop you really quick. After he said about 10 questions, I said, as you see, it's because of people like you that already got me wrote off, So clearly, it's no pressure on me. He has this. He has that. They got 1 billion votes going on in polls. Is Dada going to make it out of the first round? He's going to knock Dada out in 30 seconds. This, that, and the third. And I'm saying like this. I'm going to come out there and I'm going to rain on this guy's parade. I'm going to come out there and I'm going to upset him. Because let you guys tell it, I'm already wrote off. My whole thing to it was this. I knew I was bigger. I knew I was stronger. I knew I was smarter. And I knew I hit harder. That's all I needed to know. And to keep a simple game plan going. But that didn't happen. Kimbo could have been on steroids or whatever. He was supposed to lose that fight. If what happened to me did not happen to me, hey, listen, I would have ran out of... As you see, he was just as fucked up as I was.
Yeah.
He didn't. Listen, people say, Dada, you fought like shit. Okay, well, what happened to me happened to me. What was his excuse? Everybody forget that if it was a shit fight, he was on the other end of that shit fight. What was his excuse? And he was on steroids. But that's just how bad the people wanted to focus in on me. They was willing to override his wrongdoings.
Did you know that he was... Did you know he was on the juice before you fought him?
And I promise you I was going to say it inside the damn Bellator interview. I've been in the backyard. I've seen a lot of guys on steroids, and I see the roid rage. When he said in the conference, "I'm not bigger than yours," I looked at him, and I swear to God, I stopped and said, "Look at him. If you catch him right now, he will fail. This is roid rage. This is what he's on the juice." And just so when it would have came out, they would have been like, "Wow." It would have been more impactful. And I didn't say it because you got to keep one thing in mind. I knew this guy better than anybody he ever fought because I was there.
Right.
So I knew, the stuff that transpired inside the backyard. Even when Seth Petruccelli, why do you think Seth Petruccelli didn't get the accolades that he was supposed to get when he beat Kimbo? Because they paid him to keep it standing. Because they thought that Kimbo's fighting hands was better than his. You don't think Seth Petruccelli should have blown up after that? The same thing with Houston Alexander. Houston Alexander ran from Kimbo all that UFC fight. Dana White fired him right after. Houston Alexander, the executioner, his last fight was Kimbo's fight in UFC. He ran, and they knew that's not what he does. And when Dana asked him why, Dana White asked Houston why. Houston Alexander's response was this: "I'm a single father responsible for 7 kids to feed. You ain't got to tell me nothing else. You did it. You took the bribe. Check it. You know what I'm saying? You're a single father. I asked you, why did you do it? You know what I'm saying? You tell me you're a single parent with 7 kids. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to say no more." He fired him. So Kimbo Slice's career was riddled with all type of, bribes and this, that, and the third on that professional level. And in the backyard, it wasn't sanctioned, so he could have do whatever, and it was going to pass. So with me, I just knew that, hey, I turned down UFC Fight Pass in September. And that would have been an easy route to go straight to UFC. And I turned it down, and they couldn't believe it. I turned down Bellator a few times, since the fight. So my thing is this. I understand I'm a promoter as well. So you get me once, shame on you. You get me once, you get me twice, shame on me.
Right.
But with Kimbo, I knew that he was going to do something. I didn't know that it was going to be that. I knew the steroids was going to be a given, but I didn't know that I was going to be, affected as well.
Dada, did you think the bribes were from like Kimbo's camp, or are you thinking like the bribes are from like the company level?
Definitely Kimbo's camp, but the company level would have failed, would have failed, as well, because it happened on their watch. Right. So, like UFC, they have USADA, right? USADA come to your house 3, 4 in the morning and test you. What happened to me would have never happened on the UFC platform. And commentators and the UFC spoke out on that type of stuff. Right. If your medical, response towards, a proactive measure towards steroids and so forth like that is up to par, you wouldn't have to worry about that type of stuff like that. So Kimbo, that, my trainer, put it like this. One of the trainers used to tell me, say, "Hey, they know me." And I'm like, "Who is they?" It's like, "Kimbo now." I'm like, "I'm sure. You work right across the street from them. You work at the gym. They have the porn company, what is it called? It's called, it'll come back to me, but they have the porn company that Reality King that's right up the street from me. So you guys eat breakfast at the same shop." So when he was coming to me and he was telling me certain things, it didn't dawn on me. And I fired him, and when I fired him, he begged his way back because he already had an establishment with these guys. And I was going to push it, but when Kimbo died, I just left it alone.
Right.
When he got, I just left it alone. Because I know the good times that we did have.
Right.
And I knew that, the person that he changed into was not him. I knew where he come from. And these are the guys that's paying him. You know what I'm saying? So, he got to do whatever they do because he don't want to go back to where he came from. Right. And I was smart enough to understand that. And Kimbo used to tell me some solid stuff. It was like, Dada, you don't understand now, but you will in a minute. I believe in you. You're going to make it. You're going to do some dope stuff. You will understand why I do what I do. But for now, you ain't on that level. You wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? And if he was alive right now, you know what I'm saying, I would definitely tell him, you know what, you're right. You was right. You know what I'm saying? But even if he did not, notice after that fight, I was down. He looked as if he was concerned. You know, none of these dudes was physicians. So to make a long story short, it's like, how do you know how much calcium to put inside my water? You know, he just wanted to win the fight. He was one of the ones. I don't think he meant to kill me. You know what I'm saying? I would hope that no one meant to kill me. But we got that type of money on the line.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Everything that's at risk. You know what I'm saying? He was their guy, not me. I was telling him I was one of them. So it's like it was a no-brainer for him. It was a no-brainer, you know what I'm saying, for him. You know what I'm saying? I think that he knew, you know, like what was going on, you know, and it did affect him because he knew I was a good guy.
Right.
You know, and if that's what you got to do to win a fight, then, you know, I don't know what to say. And right now, I do this not for me. I'm making a comeback, you know what I'm saying? And I'm showing everybody, you know, like, listen, I do this for the kids that's 15, 16 years old, running, you know what I'm saying, sprints and hills with logs on their backs. And they're coming back saying, you know, daddy, uncle, mama, you know, cousin, in the next 4 or 5 years, I'm going to be the next, you know, MMA champion or world boxing champion. And when you watch Dawg Fight 2, and when you listen to the Dada story, you know, you're going to be like, wow, in your mind, because you wouldn't tell them verbally to dampen their spirits. But when you watch this, you'll be like, no, you're not. Not because you don't work hard enough. Not because you're not talented enough. But because you got bad people out there that will pull the rug right from underneath your feet and sacrifice you for the greater interest of whatever is important to them. You know?
Let's talk about part of that comeback, man. So, like, BYB, I guess maybe talk about, man, how did the whole BYB thing get started? How did you get involved with it? The ring, the triangle ring. Talk about all that.
Well, you know, when you look at how it became, when Kimbo Slice actually said, hey, I'm going pro, we flew out to fight Ray Mercer, right? And I told them coming back up there, listen, you guys are doing this, and I'm going to take it to another level, you know, and I want your support. They told me no, you can't do it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, why? You know, because it's too dangerous, and I'm sitting back like, wow, what's good for the gander is not good for the goose. So I ended up moving forward, right? And I did it. They told me I was making the biggest mistake of my life. And to this day, I was nominated, and we won 2 Emmys on Telemundo, Elite and Garcasaro, a show that we did. I worked with EA Sports, broke records on ESPN Magazine, ESPN E60, National Geographic, Taboo, Rolling Stones, you know, of course, Netflix Dawg Fight, which we just wrapped up around, so coming out worldwide this fall, you know, on Netflix. What else? I worked with, you know, Tiger Woods, Arnold Palmer, Lisa Reno before Arnold died, you know, Maxim Magazine, Miami Herald, Miami Times, you know, you name it, I did it. And to this day, I ask these dudes, why, do you think I still, in your opinion, made the biggest mistake of my life? And if anybody out there knows me, they know that if you look at the haircut that I've been wearing for more than 13 years, right, these are upside-down triangles in my head. And upside-down triangles. If I put them the right way, people that would have called on, they would have been associating me with other things. But subliminally, you know what I'm saying, I was letting people know, listen, the triangle is the most dominant shape ever known to man for combat, right? And that's for real. So now, you know, I get everything inside the backyard. And then we done that Nat Geo Taboo. And when we done Nat Geo Taboo, you know, I did the triangle ring. And it broke records. It was phenomenal. So now that I peeked inside the backyard, I've done everything. You know, it's nothing that nobody can come behind me and do in the backyard that I haven't done. I surely got the better from the dump. So I covered it up with a gentleman named Mike Vasquez. You know, he's a cigarette retailer with BYB, the cigarette coffee. You know, he's the founder and starter of NASCAR Mexico. You know, and he owns a couple other businesses. So he was that missing piece, and he helped me get over that hump. So with 50-50 owners, you know what I'm saying? He handled, the logistics, he handled the marketing and promotion, and the forum, and I handled, the fights, getting, the guys together. And what's so sad is this, right? When Kimbo Slice first fought this dude, Big D, and busted his out, and became an international icon, a phenomenon over YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Nobody else was on that level, or not on that level. Nobody else. And then I was right behind him, and I didn't want to be like him. I said, I'm going to create a league, an opportunity for others to be the Kimbo Slice of their culture, of their environment. And I dominated on the highest of background levels for more than 8 years. And still was doing my thing. Now you got all these other bare knuckle fight clubs that's out. And what's happening is this. They took pages from my playbook. They took the slice from the cake that I have the recipe for it. And I'm like, listen, if we motivated you guys, if we inspired you guys to do what you're doing, that's all right. But when you're giving me my credits, make sure you say and spell my name right. So now I'm coming back for everything. I'm coming after everything now. Because they're just doing it they're just doing it because it's popular. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing it for the longevity of it. So everybody that was on that BYB card last week, Friday, and Cheyenne got knocked out. With the exception of 2 heavyweight and the last fight with the thumb in the eye. You know what I'm saying? Which was a no contest. Everybody else got knocked out. This is what we provide. We provide a show that has more excitement than a stick of TNT. No one else is doing it like this. So now I'm back. I am the BYB Extreme Heavyweight UFC Champion of the world. This is no pressure now. And I have a chip on my shoulder. Everybody that I get in the cage with is getting knocked out. Nothing is being left beside the hands of the referee. I cheated with this last one. So that's why every time I step inside that cage, I got an image, a Kimbo face attached to whoever bites, and they're going to get put to sleep.
Well, I'll tell you, Dada, I watched the whole card. I watched the whole card a bunch, and there were some guys that were very impressive on the card that stuck out. At first, I was unsure about the triangle, but then when you see people in it, it gives you no option to run. There's nowhere to hide. You can't get away. If you go in a corner, you're trapped. If you move along, you're trapped. So the idea is great. And I know I was told that you guys have a second card coming in the fall along with Dawg Fight 2 around the same release time. Is that about right?
Right. Yes.
Well, I'd say...
Let's see how Dada part of that. So we're going to damage the ratings, and we're going to let everybody know, that we're for real, and, we're large, we're all over the country, and to follow the innovators, you know what I'm saying? Follow the creators, not the duplicators. They can copy the format, they can copy the style, but they can't copy respect. They got to earn the respect. And you're right, we're going to time it. We got Dawg Fight coming out. And we're just fortunate to be able to do this.
Well, Dada, we're running low on time, man. But what can I guess just kind of let people know what can they look forward to with Dawg Fight 2 really quick? Like I said, with the next show coming out in the fall on Dawg Fight 2, what do you want people to know that's coming up?
Well, listen, Dawg Fight 2 is going to be action-packed, full of thrills and chills. We're going to deliver. It's going to be very inspirational. It's going to be emotional. It's going to be an emotional roller coaster, but you're definitely going to get a lot of great things out of it. Then we're going to be looking to do the series with Netflix called Dawg Fight, the series, which is going to be dope. And to follow, not to follow me. I invite you guys on the journey. The real Dawg Fight album all across the board, and to stay tuned with BYB Extreme, for the latest on everything that we're doing. It's been awesome. Thank you guys for having me, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We appreciate your time,
thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Guys, go check out, go to Netflix. Everybody has Netflix by now. Go check out Dawg Fight 2 coming up very soon. Check out the BYB show that just happened. Go check the replay. And BYB coming out in this fall again, the second show. So it's going to be action-packed. Can't wait for it. Dada 5000. It was our absolute pleasure, sir. We appreciate your time. Christina Fierro, welcome to the show. Last time we saw you on BKFC 5 and the Britain Hart fight. I guess talk about that for a second. Short-lived as it was, got doctor stoppage and stuff like that. I guess take us through that. Take us through your camp for the fight, your preparation, and what you thought about the end of it.
Well, I'm prepared for a champion every time. Doesn't matter what fight I'm in. I'm always preparing for world champion. So I train my ass off. You guys see I'm out there running mountains. I'm training every day, training with coach every day. Just not skipping any days, not calling in sick, no excuses. Just putting in hard work. And so leading up to the fight, I don't go in thinking about my opponent's level or what level she is or high, low, whatever. It's just it's going to be a hard fight in my mind no matter what. So I go into the fight. The first round, just felt her out a little bit, wanted to see what she was reacting to and stuff like that. And I just went in on her and it ended the fight real quick. The cuts.
So now the real important thing that everybody wants to know anyway is you are a champion now. And
Yes.
there is another champion in your weight division.
Mm-hmm.
In your mind is the only fight to make you and Beck Rawlings at this point. She's the world champion. You're the American champion. It's kind of like having a champ and an interim champ. You got to put it together. Somebody's got to be on top of the mountain. Does that sound accurate to you?
It does. Yes. She's not ready for me. She knows it.
Not ready?
She's not ready for me, dude. She needs about 4 or 5 more years and some stand-up training, some boxing, and maybe she might have enough skill and IQ to stand with me, but she'll never have enough heart because you're born with that. You can't just go grab some of that somewhere, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. I mean, I'm willing to fight whoever they put in front of me. If they need me to fight another person, she needs me to fight another person for an excuse, then give her more time to train, then I'll do that too. So
yeah, because we kind of saw on the Twitter thing, it was supposed they were talking about her and Amanda Serrano were kind of going back and forth. It would be she'd fight Beck bare knuckle, Beck would go over to glove boxing. But then I saw a post that someone was saying they were fairly confident that the Beck Serrano fight was not a thing, and they were thinking it would be you and Amanda Serrano. At this point, you're just willing to fight anybody. You'll defend against anyone.
Yeah.
You'll fight Beck. You'll fight Amanda. I mean, does it even matter to you?
no, it doesn't. I would rather fight Serrano. She's a way higher caliber fighter and much more of a challenge. And to test who I am as a fighter and my skills. So I mean, I don't want these chump fights. That I can go find that in a bar. You know what I mean? Like, I'm here to find out if I'm the best fighter, like if I'm the best in the world, So I'm only testing myself and doing this to be a great fighter. There's no other alternative for me for that. It's not just chasing money because we ain't making millions of dollars over here.
What kind of time frame are you looking to get back in the ring?
I'm ready the next show. I was back in training on Tuesday.
So now you've done it all. I know you fought Muay Thai. I know you fought MMA. You fight bare knuckle. Do you feel like you found this is where you're planting your feet? Is this your favorite of the group?
Okay. Yeah. See, my strength and conditioning, this is who you pissed off, dude. Yeah.
Hey, what's up, buddy? Hey, listen.
He's late.
we ran a little late, but we had to have her on.
Okay. No, okay, so...
Yeah, he could get in here. He could get in and tell us about your conditioning if he wants. But yeah,
okay, so,
I mean, is this kind of where you've planted your feet? This is where you feel most at home?
Yeah, I love it. I love boxing. I love just using my hands, and it's, I've done MMA, I've done Muay Thai. It's a lot less to worry about, and I could perfect my skills a lot better, and I feel like it's a faster pace. It's faster paced than more fast paced than Muay Thai or MMA. So everything's different, and I feel like it pushes me way more. in ways that I haven't been pushed before, and the fighting IQ is going up.
I think your training is. I know you said you have training. We see it on Instagram. Nothing's a secret. You put out there what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Your training is ridiculous.
Right.
Like every other day, you're running. Like you said, you're running up the side of this mountain.
Sprinting. Yeah.
Yeah. Get tired watching you run up the mountain. I know he gets tired watching you run up the mountain.
Yeah.
So obviously, everybody hopes to see you again. Your fight. We know what we get out of you, right? You're going to move forward. You're going to. You're there to knock people out, and you're doing that.
Absolutely.
So if it's not Beck and not Amanda, do you have anybody on your radar that you feel? No.
What about that girl, Christina Marks? She was in the other bare knuckle, the WBKF. So I mean, I would like to fight her. She seemed, like she had like a decent IQ, fighting IQ, and she came to fight. Like I liked her.
Yeah, and I think she's a former UFC. She was on the Contender Series or Bellator, I believe. Yeah.
Was it Christina Marks? I don't know if it was another. Is that the WBKF girl?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So that girl seems pretty legit. I mean, I wouldn't mind fighting her.
She'll fight anybody. What do you think?
Yeah.
She'll fight. These questions are pointless. Just line them up.
Just line them up.
Yeah.
So obviously BKFC 5 was a huge card. It was a successful card with the whole, all the attention I think that garnered from the whole Paulie thing and the Artem thing, but it got more eyeballs on you guys. I think it's just great for the sport, and I think Artem and Paulie, coming up, hopefully Dave says that's the plan, but, with Paulie and Artem coming up, and, man, I mean, the amount of mainstream attention that you guys are getting and the sport's getting, it's so great. I mean, I can't even imagine. It's like getting on that card. I mean, obviously that's something you want to do, is you want to get on that big card. You want to get on the Paulie and Artem card.
Of course.
Like you said, you're ready. So if Dave Feldman calls you up tonight, like, hey, I got to fight for you, it's just book the fight. There is no question, right?
No, I'll fight next week. I'll fight next weekend and make weight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's
It's
do
all
her
good.
solid.
I'm ready. That's what I'm here for. This is my job. This is what I do. This is the life I live. Yeah.
We thank you so much for pushing the stuff back with your coach and everything like that.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna let you go. We got some good questions from you. So what we'll do, we'll get you back on at some point because we don't want to hold you up with that. But
thank you.
Yeah, we'll get you back on at some point, and we appreciate your time so much. And
there it is.
It was badass seeing you, seeing you BKFC 5, and it was an awesome performance.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you again. And everybody, awesome. Christina Fierro, and we'll have you back on the program soon. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.
We are back with Sean Wheelock, currently the voice of BKFC among many others. Mr. Wheelock, what's going on, man?
I have a rare week off, and I say that, but I am going to a house boxing show, and I'll be working that for the Kansas Athletic Commission, my lucrative non-paying commission job. So even on my weekend off, I'll still be at fights. I'm looking forward to taking the drive to Lawrence, Kansas, University of Kansas, about 30 miles from my house in Kansas City, working a show, and then Roy Jones Jr. boxing the following week. So ready to roll.
That's in Florida, right?
No, the Roy Jones show I'm doing, that's on UFC Fight Pass. We're all over the country. This show will actually be at Tucson, Arizona, but predominantly we're in the mountain of the western time zones on that series, but already this year on Fight Pass, we've been in California, Washington State, Texas. Now we're going to Arizona. It was just announced today we'll have the first ever world title boxing match on UFC Fight Pass. Will be in Osaka, Japan in January, right before the next BKFC, which is very, very cool. It is so much fun for me to be able to call a lot of different combat sports. I mean, first and foremost, I'm an MMA guy. I always have been, always will be. But you guys know I love bare knuckle. I don't think I've ever had so much fun in my career as bare knuckle. I love working for Roy Jones and Keith Veltri, RJJ Boxing. I do my World Lightweight Championship in Myanmar. I still get to do my beloved MMA. I just love commentating combat sports. I really, truly, and I'm a hardcore soccer fan and I'm a hardcore NFL fan, I really have no desire to commentate anything above fight sports. I just like to be a fan of those other sports and sit on the couch.
Well, speaking of MMA, there was a big show, right? This past weekend, UFC 236, with, of course, Holloway and Poirier, then Gastelum and Adesanya. Did you get a chance to check that out?
I did. I actually, I didn't see the show live, and more often, I don't see shows live, usually because I have the opportunity to be working and commentating somewhere. But it never spoils my enjoyment, whether I know the results or not. I'm to the point where I can watch fights, knowing the results, not knowing the results, and it feels the same to me because I'm looking for so many different things. And I was really intrigued by that main event. Poirier and Holloway are so phenomenal. First of all, even in defeat, Max Holloway, the fact that he was willing to step up out of his weight class, that's something that it looks easy, but for champions to take that chance, there's a lot on the line there. You know, you always, I think, when you become a pro fighter, even at the lowest levels to the absolute highest levels, like the fighters on the main event of UFC 236, it's risk versus reward. And there was a lot of reward for Max Holloway, but obviously there was a lot of risk. You know, even though he's out of his normal weight class, it's still, well, did you diminish yourself? Did you diminish your name? Did you hurt your title? You know, as fight fans, unfortunately, all of us, and I'm the same, we all kind of have a short memory. We all kind of remember the last performance. And now Max Holloway is stuck with this as the last performance. That being said, it was a very good fight, but Poirier was just simply too strong for him on the night.
Yeah, I think it was an example of, it's not, like you said, it's not that Max Holloway did bad by any stretch of the imagination. It's just that Dustin Poirier was just that good that night. He was just that good. And I think a lot of things were, like you said, he was coming up from another weight class. He's the 145 king right now, but 155, it's 10 pounds. But like you said, it is a big difference, and he took a big risk. And Dustin Poirier, on top of being, a 155er, he's a big 155er. He's pretty big for the weight class. He's very strong, has a lot of power. And
yeah, he definitely is. And Max Holloway, when I was still commentating for Victory, when there was such a thing as Victory Fighting Championship, unfortunately it's gone out of business now, but Max Holloway, on a show that we did in 2017, had some teammates on the card from Hawaii and came, and he actually sat in and commentated a fight with Joe Wilk and myself, and he's not huge. He's not a big 45er, so obviously he's a tiny 55er. Just, I'm not talking weight because, when I look at fighters, I'm not looking at weight. Weight fluctuates. I'm looking at skeletal structure. And, I'm not a small person. I'm about 6'2.5", and I'm about 195 pounds. But if you look at my skeletal structure, I really could not be an effective heavyweight, assuming I had heavyweight talent. But in that universe that I did, if you just look at my skeletal structure, if you look at the size of my neck, if you look at the size of my wrist bones, my ankle bones, I'm more like a middleweight structure. And that's what I look at with fighters. Holloway, regardless of what he would weigh, and he was very lean when he commentated, and I don't think he's a fighter who gets out of shape, but his skeletal structure is just more conducive to being a 45er than it is to being a 55er, and full credit to Holloway for moving up, and full credit to Poirier for that performance. That is a phenomenal performance. To really be that dominant, it was 49-46 across the board from the three judges in Georgia against a legitimate top 10, if not top 5 in the world champion in Max Holloway. That was really, really well done from Dustin Poirier.
You know what's nice about Max? There's no doubt about him coming up. Remember, he tried to step up and make weight to fight Khabib. He'll fight anybody. And I think the mark doesn't, like you said, everybody remembers the last fight, but I think when it's in terms of him, they also remember his body of work, that he's willing to step up and fight anybody as long as it even remotely makes sense. But at the end of the day, great performance by both guys, no question about it. but Poirier is long overdue to have some kind of belt. So it's good that he got one on a remarkable career.
Yeah,
so far.
Without a doubt. And, people always talk about career-defining wins. I don't know that I buy into that entirely because I don't think a fighter's career is made on one fight, be it a win, a loss, a draw, a no contest, whatever. But people still look for that career-defining win, and this is pretty close to a career-defining win for Dustin Poirier. Not to say that he couldn't have a lot more career-defining wins, and he has a phenomenal body of work, but it's that type of win that he probably needed to elevate himself. I believe he was certainly already on the A-list, but maybe people pay a little more attention. I mean, obviously, beating Pettis, beating Gaethje, beating Alvarez, that's quality stuff. Yeah. But people can say what they will. Oh, Pettis isn't as good. Alvarez doesn't take a punch well, and then he lost in one. Gaethje is wide open. I disagree with all those assessments, but you can hear that. Other than saying Holloway was out of his weight class, it's really difficult not to say anything nice, and I'm someone who says something nice about everybody, but there are always people who want to be critics and say, well, it was a win, but I don't know that there's a but in that with Poirier. He was just outstanding.
Yeah, no but. He went out, he did what he had to do.
No, 100%. I tell you what, and I don't know where you guys stood on this, but I knew before the fight, I was kind of picking Poirier for it, and people kind of looked at me like I was crazy because, Max was kind of the favorite going in because he's so good at 145. And a lot of people thought that his output, his volume was going to be too much for Poirier. But Poirier, the way he handled Alvarez and Gaethje, and the way he kind of shuts down that offense, I knew that, especially the fight with Gaethje, was a great learning tool for this fight with Holloway, because it's a similar fighting styles, not exact same, but as far as like a high volume output and just a pressing forward, just not giving you air to breathe kind of pace. And that's how Gaethje was, and that's how Holloway is. And he fought him very similar, and he kept stopping the setups, and he wasn't giving a chance for Holloway to kind of get going. And I had a really good feeling that was going to be the game plan he played. Now, the one thing that did catch me off guard was how heavy he was throwing his shots, especially in the first round. I thought once the fight started, I was like, okay, this is looking good. This is looking good. And Poirier, I was worried he was going to gas out, but he never really did. He kind of started slowing down towards the fourth and the fifth, but never really gassed out. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting how many people really counted out Dustin in this fight.
Yeah, I just think there's been so much buzz about Holloway and the fact that he comes in as a champion, albeit at 145 and not 155.
Yeah.
But just the role that he has been on and the momentum. I mean, you have to go back to the Conor McGregor fight to find his last loss, and that was in 2013. So when fighters start winning, people think about them as winners, and they have a tendency to favor the fighter that's on the winning streak going in, by and large.
You know what else is nice? We will see Max at 155 again, I bet.
I think so.
Because he could take out, he could probably beat more than 50% of the top 10. But he just happened to run into a guy who's, the higher echelon, should have a belt kind of fighter. But at the end of the day, it was a great fight for all of us to watch, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, another good fight too was the Gastelum Adesanya fight, which was, it's hard coming from that fight and then going to the Max Holloway Dustin Poirier fight. It's hard to say for me what was better, a better fight overall. I might have to slightly lean towards the Gastelum Adesanya fight. Surprisingly to me, Kelvin didn't go for as many takedowns as I thought. And I thought that was going to be his main game plan. And because Brad Tavares, when he fought Israel, he had a couple moments with his wrestling, but I thought Kelvin was for sure going to use it a whole lot more, and he really didn't. He stood in the pocket with him, and it was working. He won several exchanges with Israel, and I was surprised. I was surprised he took that game plan, and he made it work for, I think, at least 2 or 3 rounds.
I think his only issue was Israel's gas tank was better. because that was the only thing I saw that changed. Is Israel did not slow down as much. I can't even lie. I was overly impressed with Kelvin's game plan because I thought it was going to be the wrestling approach, and now we know he could stand and strike with the best strikers in the world. So that puts everybody on notice. He might have lost, but he's not done, kind of situation.
I think that's extremely well said, and that he did try to stand and trade with Adesanya, and he did do very well in a number of exchanges. And Adesanya, this is a fighter who slowly has had a build, and I think he's going to get a real promotional push from the UFC, which is always key for fighters, to get a promotional push no matter what the promotion is. But he's 17-0, and that is really remarkable in this era to get to 17-0. I think that's been lost in all of it, and there's always a record obsession in boxing that if you're not 17-0, somehow you're terrible. Right. But boxing also gives you the opportunity that if you're 16-0, you might be fighting a guy who's 5-31, and I'm not exaggerating on that.
Right.
But the UFC has never, going back to day one, November 12th, 1993 with Art Davie, has never protected fighters. Look, no, and I know people will say, like my good friend Paige Van Zandt, no, I absolutely do not agree she's been protected. You heard that on Sage Northcutt. No. Look at what the UFC did with Brock Lesnar. He wasn't protected at all. He had Heath Herring. He had Frank Mir right away. Wow, how about that? They certainly didn't protect CM Punk. There's no concept of record building in MMA, and there certainly isn't in the UFC. And that Adesanya, I know he's a New Zealander and is fighting in the Pacific, but still, he was 11-0 when he entered the UFC, and to be 17-0, it's phenomenal. It really is phenomenal. It doesn't make him the best fighter in the world, and we know that there's a lot of tortured math in fighting, that 10-7 can be better than 17-0, but in this case, 17-0, Adesanya is a really good fighter.
The only drawback I saw to his win, and it has nothing to do with his fight per se, is the whole "I'll fight John Jones." Now, I'm not knocking his record. He is super skilled, but I don't think he's ready for that yet. He would have to come up a weight class, and I mean, even with the trouble John Jones has had, it's hard to deny him not being the GOAT.
Sure, but everybody obviously wants to fight John Jones. I'm friends with Anthony Smith. I've been friends with Anthony Smith since, I believe, 2012 when he fought 2 Bellator undercards and shockingly was never offered a contract. Really hard to believe. I've actually done some commentating on Victory with Anthony Smith as well. He's an Omaha guy. I'm a Kansas City guy. And you think there's not a lot of downside to fighting John Jones, just like there wasn't a lot of downside to fighting George St. Pierre. Right. And so everyone's going to call them out. That's why everyone calls out Conor McGregor. That's why everybody called out Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali. There's no downside to fighting a fighter who everybody believes is going to smash you. Because if you are Buster Douglas in 1990 in Tokyo and you get the win, your legend is cemented and your name is made and your whole life really is made on that one fight. And if you have a great effort in defeat, the way Anthony did against Jones, then, well, that's not a terrible thing for your career either. Anthony Smith right now is in a better place post-John Jones than he was pre-John Jones. His career is going to be healthier for because of that defeat. So, to me, that's just a fighter being a fighter and being a smart professional fighter, calling out opponents, saying, I want this fight. Absolutely. Why not?
I'll tell you one thing, and this isn't just because you said you know him. You can go back in our old videos and see it. We believed as a pair that Anthony Smith was going to be the guy to beat John Jones. Yeah. He's kind of just like we always keep saying he's the right type of savage to go out there and do it. And I wholeheartedly believed if anybody was going to beat him, it would be Anthony Smith. Yeah, and
he gave a great performance. He definitely gave a great performance. And when I go back to not building records or padding records, the UFC is not going to baby John Jones no more than they've babied any of their champions. That's one thing that you have to, I think that fans have to admit about the UFC. And again, I know that like Sage Northcutt, I remember on Roger Huerta in his last 2 years before he signed with Bellator, they're padding their record, they're building them. But not really, because no one is bad on a UFC roster. There are levels of really good and great, but there are no bad fighters on the UFC roster. I know fans want to roll their eyes when I say that, but it's true. As a guy who goes to a lot of local MMA and regional MMA and a lot of house shows, I see bad MMA, and it's not in the UFC. Everybody there is extremely talented, and they were absolute axe murderers on the regional circuit to get to the UFC.
Plus, in reality, Anthony Smith could have he technically, by the rules, could have taken the win, but decided that he did not. And I think I saw an interview where he said he didn't want to win that way because of the knee. And you know what? You got to respect the guy for doing that. He could have said, "I can't continue," and John Jones would have lost, and there would have been another fight. But you have to respect a man that knows he could take the easy way out and says, "You know what? I'm going to brush myself off and let's keep this ball rolling." So it's just great on his part all around.
I will say this about that.
That's the type of guy he is.
Yeah, about that ruling though, I tell you what, I think that should be like an outside call, like a ref call or something. I don't think that you should leave that up to the fighter, because what if I think sometimes that the fighter's ego and their, there is such that they're not. Most of them aren't going to say, "No, I'm done. I can't continue." Even if they're really hurt, most of them aren't going to say it. And I think that decision should be up to somebody else. Maybe the corner. I'm okay with that. Maybe the corner makes that decision. Maybe the ref makes that decision. I don't know. But I don't like that decision being left up to the fighter.
Yeah, I've seen situations where fighters most definitely won out of fights in those situations, though, and is the guy who sits on the MMA Rules and Regs Committee for the ABC. It's something that we talk about in those types of sequences. But believe me, there are fighters, and I've seen it and I've commentated, where you can tell that they won out of the fight, and they will take whatever opportunity they can. And having known Anthony Smith for a long time and knowing him like I do, I would have expected him to act exactly the way that he acted,
right.
And full credit to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, getting back to the the Izzy fight, obviously he's the interim champion now by beating Gastelum with no easy feat, obviously. But now he's taking on the Reaper, Robert Whittaker.
Oof.
I tell you what, and I think fans are starting to, they're getting behind the Izzy train, as well they kind of should be. Izzy is, I think he's not just hype. I think he is a big deal, and I think he's going to continue to only get better. I mean, the guy, I think he's still a few years away from peaking, which is scary, as good as he is already. But it's him and the Reaper, and I don't know. What do you guys feel about that?
I have a theory that, and this is just my theory, I feel like Robert Whittaker will be the champion until he decides he's not going to be the champion. I feel like he's going to retire the champion. He's just so good and so humble and doesn't talk trash. Like, he's like the perfect storm if you put a fighter together. Like, he's going to be great, and he's not going to cause trouble, and he's not going to do this. I just think he's the total package. I think he's going to be there until he decides that he's going to call it a career.
It's an interesting assessment of Whittaker. I liked him, and I was actually in Kansas City, Missouri. It wasn't on my side of the state line in Kansas, so I was there as a guest of UFC Fight Pass with my now 13-year-old daughter. And in Kansas City at Sprint Center 2 years ago, and that was the Whittaker versus Jacare Souza fight. And on that performance, I thought, because I'm a massive Jacare fan, I thought, wow, Whittaker, I knew he was good. He is really good. But at that level, obviously, you see how many different champions there are. I mean, the run that Anderson Silva had, difficult to think that could be replicated. One never knows, but difficult to think that could be replicated because the speed and the power combined at that weight class, it's difficult. With that being said, I mean, Whittaker is a phenomenal fighter. There's no question about it. He's a very good champion. And I think at least from a North American perspective, he's a pretty underrated champion.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Mr. Wheelock, we're running short on time, but real quick before you go, I want people to tell people about the book.
So my book has been out a while. It's called Is This Legal? The Inside Story of the First UFC from the man who created it. I wrote that with Art Davie, who, of course, is kind of become my surrogate dad, actually. But Art Davie, of course, is the creator of the UFC. He's now a UFC Hall of Famer. I had the great, and I mean great honor of giving the induction speech for Art at the UFC Hall of Fame last July. The book, we're doing some things and moving the book in the right direction. There's been talk about a film for a long time. I'm hoping to have more news on that. But in the meantime, you can still get a final run hardback before I think we'll be coming out with a paperback edition. If you want to go directly to the source, it's isthislegalthebook.com, isthislegalthebook.com. You can get a straight book mailed to you, or you can get personally autographed. Art will sign in the description if you want me to sign it as well. Isthislegalthebook.com, but it's something that I'm immensely proud of, as I'm immensely proud of my friendship with Art Davie.
Go check that out. Thank you so much for your time, Sean Wheelock. We appreciate your fountain of wisdom. It's I'll tell you what, man. We could sit down and talk to you for hours. It's a pleasure to talk to you. It's an honor to talk to you, and we enjoy your calling and your commentating and. We just
don't let them lie to you. We just want to hear you talk.
Yeah, we just want to hear you talk.
I appreciate it. Guys, no, it's always great to talk to you. No, and I genuinely appreciate it. I appreciate the friendship and the kind words, and I'm a huge supporter of you guys. Any time that you want me on the show, I'm always happy to be on.
Absolutely.
I want you to narrate my life. Forget this show.
All right, Mr. Will.
Thank you, guys.
We don't want to keep it too much longer, man. Have a good night.